Well folks, welcome back to the workshop again. It is starting to build up out here and build up fast. Beginning of last Tuesday after the bank holiday weekend, this was nearly clear. This has all just come on in the last week and we need to make a start on it. So I think today we're going to do a hammer time video because a lot of big boxes of hammers here. So we're going to see if we can get through these, get them all cleared out. I was working on the Paslode yesterday, got through some of them, but we want to get rid of some of the big stuff. So we'll start onto the hammers. I'm going to start off with this one, a Metabo hammer, a wee small one, a Metabo MH 5 kg chipping hammer. Let's see what's wrong with this one. I'm hoping a lot of these will be a simple fix as well. That's running and hammering. She's hammer only, so there's no rotation. And she's got the sleeve then for changing position. It's not exactly like the Hitachi one. I'd say it's fairly similar, but it's not identical anyway. It's not the exact same thing with a different name written on it. Not a bad looking wee machine, nice size anyway. But it has a wee lock button here. Makes it a lot handier. I don't know if this is a lead actually. Yeah, a lead, and crushes or breaks it. I'd say there was something dropped here, look. But if you were to look at it, you would not notice anything there apart from a wee bit of a kink. Sometimes it can be hard to find, but something's just crushed it there. No, got it right on the brake, look. See, the neutral's broken through. Right, two options here. We've still got plenty of length. These actually come with a nice long lead. It's at least 4 meters. So you could easily just reconnect that if you wanted to. Let's face it, if you're at home, that's what everybody's going to do. But here, mightn't be very much I'm taking off, but I'm just going to replace it because that lead, this isn't an old machine. 2022, well, it's a few years old, it's done a bit of work, but the lead isn't all that bad, but it is a wee bit dinged up. You don't know how much more damage is on it. Maybe there's a couple of other wee drops and bangs on it. It could be about to break somewhere else. Normally it does just break here. You would be safe enough with this, but it's also not hard, but it's not wild flexible, so you will just replace the whole thing. Well, see these plugs, I don't know what it is about them. Nobody ever tightens up the cable clamp. Tighten that up, it locks the cable on. I don't know why. They keep coming loose. Nobody knows how to tighten them up. Looks like somebody's had this opened already. Just make sure that locks, or do we need to change the plug too? Yeah, it does lock, yeah. To open them you need a wee screwdriver. Poke it on here. Weirder than that. Poke it on to undo the lock. Keep that. Change this. Take off the base too. Brushes look okay in it anyway. Simple design anyway. A wee bit basic, I would say. But if she works, she works. It's just a motor housing, it's wrapping down here. It's not the most heavy duty thing. Not as good a design as some of the Bosch ones, but you sort of have to take them as they come. Sometimes this can be a bit cheap, and this can be a bit cheap, but the gears can be good. Now the Bosch is better built here, but they do tend to wear the gears up here. None of them just tick all the boxes perfectly. Wee capacitors wired in down here too. So get rid of that. Grab a couple of bits and a little bit of cable. Bit boring changing the leads, boring for the videos and boring for me, but anybody with the hammer will probably want to know how to change the leads on them. Luckily these Metabo ones are quite simple. Everything's just straight onto here and onto an actual wee strip connector too. Makes it even handier. Where'd my grommet run off to now? Rolled off the table. Oh, there's the downside of changing cable. Mine's just a little bit heavier. Sometimes the grommets don't fit again. Right. Might get away with drilling it out. That's a hard grommet too. It's not all that flexible. We might get away with just drilling it, reaming it out a wee bit. Sometimes it works, sometimes it destroys it. Don't know if I have anyone for these Metabo, so I might have a similar one. Well, we can always try this first. Just as long as you don't go through into your hand. That might do. Look at that. Bit messy, but it does the job. Do be careful if you're doing that, because you learn the hard way how hard to go. They're going to spin on your hand and give yourself a wee burn, or it comes through and gives yourself a good slice. It's the only thing about some of these here. Maybe a tight fit. And the crimps for the bootless, the good ones make them round, but these wee cheap ones make them flat. Sometimes handier having the flat ones. Cheap and cheerful sometimes does the job. especially when you're trying to squeeze it in between another wire. Do the job. Love seeing a wee strap connector like that in the machine. They're most certainly not high tech, but they make life a hell of a lot easier. And that should be all this thing will need. You also just give it a wee blow down with the compressor just to clean up the dust. Nice one to start the day on. Nice and simple. If we get more like this, we'll start making a dent in the pile out there. I don't know what was going on last week, but literally after the bank holiday weekend, and here on a Tuesday, even on the Wednesday, didn't have everything done, but the shelves are starting to get a wee bit cleared. It was becoming manageable, you know. I was even running out of videos because most of the stuff on the shelves were all the common stuff we've done videos on before in the past. There was nothing really new. There's no real videos been done last week, at least been recorded. But then all of a sudden, at the end of the week, everything just started landing on. From all over the place, coming on from the shop, coming on by courier, and coming on by the boss. He was out doing deliveries and he was picking more stuff up. Shelves just were absolutely heaving by Friday, and it's not slowed down at all this week either, because there's still more stuff up at the counter to come down here. Good complaint, but it's stressful when you're the only person down here doing the repairs and you have boys on the phone screaming, looking for the machines fixed. You can't even give them a date when you're going to look at them, let alone fix them. That's generally where we're just doing our own customer repairs here now at the minute. We're not taking on anything else because the extra stuff just ain't getting done. We have to focus on our own customers' machines. And we don't want people just sitting for weeks or months on end waiting for things to be looked at. Better refusing to take them on than leaving somebody angry that their stuff's not been looked at. Anyway, that's her. That's how you replace the lead on the Metabo HM5 wee small chipping hammer. Nice wee machine, and I don't think these things are all that expensive. That's a nice flexible lead for your man anyway. That'll keep him running, and hopefully he won't drop anything on it again. Now we've got a Bosch one. This is a Bosch GBH 5/40 I take it, DCE. So what's wrong with this one? Hopefully a simple fix again. Ooh. Not a simple fix anyway. Not worth fixing. Like I was just saying on that Metabo, sometimes it can be better build quality, but one bad part can destroy a machine. I think this is gears. How old is this one? This one's 2020, 5 years. 2 years older than the last Metabo. These are already loose. Well, not loose, but they're not tight anyway. Yeah, one we've seen before. Gears are stripped out of the armature. There's nothing connected on. Worn clean through. Not good, to be honest. I don't think it's a very good setup from Bosch. Them gears just aren't hard enough. We've tried changing the grease in it. We'll try put on oil. We'll try put on the healthy grease even. Eventually they still go the same way. 5 years of work and it's already worn through the gear on the armature. It's the armature itself that's worn through. And more than likely that crank will be worn as well. But these ones don't wear as much as the GSH 5s, the hammer only one without the rotation. But these ones, they still wear. This gear might be stronger, but the armature is just the same. It still wears. So you can see that the teeth are totally worn off, eaten away. So to fix that, we need a new motor, probably a new crank. Maybe you'll get away with this, but the replaceable would only be about €30 anyway. Clutch would be alright, and then a complete service kit. You'd be looking around €400 to do all that. And that just ain't going to be worth it for this man. That ain't going to be fixed. It's just not worth it at that. I'm not sure if you get copy armatures anywhere for these here Bosch hammers yet. No spurious ones. I know some of the Makitas have done videos on it before in the past, buying armatures off AliExpress or Amazon. Copy ones for cheaper, and they do a good enough job, especially if you're not going to be using it all that much. But if you're using it continuously every day, I don't know how good they're going to be. But I haven't seen any for these Bosch hammers yet. But they are also hard to get in 110 volt, which this is. So at the minute, this ain't worth fixing, not unless you can get a 110 volt copy armature for good money, talking less than €100. Because that armature from Bosch costs nearly 200, and then you're into another 60 or 70 for a service kit, plus whatever else but you need. Probably need a seal for the top of it as well, and whatever gears inside, plus oil seal and bearings. You're into quite a bit of money to fix one of these here. So that one ain't going to be fixed. Next up, we'll go with the Makita. A wee mixture of all of them here. This one is supposedly blowing fuses. That's all he says. So that could be a few different things. Let's see if it actually works. We'll see if that fuse is blowing. Looks like he's actually wrapped a bit of wire in the fuse too. Right. Still works. See what it's doing. 240 volt as well. Don't see too many of these on 240. Oh. That just blew my trip and sounded like it popped something on the actual socket here in the workshop. Hopefully it just blew the fuse, or whatever he's hooked up to the fuse. Right, I might have to check that socket as well, see what damage that just did. No, sure it's wired on this side. That's only the switch. It's the wrong end to go onto. I want to test the lead. So that's loose. Somebody's already tested something on this. See what he's done here. It's actually not what he's done. I assume that was a bit of wire put across. Let me just take a wee bit of the internal wire of a lead or something, wrap it around between the 2 points, stick it back in again, give yourself a bigger, stronger fuse so it doesn't pop as easily. But I don't think that's the problem. I think he's actually burnt through this. What's going on here? Can't be drawing so much current, so it blows it straight away. Thought it was going to be a lead problem. Unless it's just an absolutely cooked problem. Yep. That might be something to do with it. Actually, as soon as I start turning that, I can smell it now. It turns one way, not the other. That's cooked. Fried. That's why she's blowing leads, or blowing fuses, and tripping everything. This is all just shorted out inside. This armature's not just failed. It's actually disintegrated. We'll have a peek inside, see how much damage is done here. I'll just take this cover off, otherwise you just end up breaking this. And this thing's fairly rough as well. I don't know if it's going to be worth fixing or not. There we go. Should put it off this way. This is an older model as well. No dampers on it. And it's clearly seen a bit of work. Play this one by ear. See if it's worth fixing or not, because I'm not even sure who owns this. Sometimes you just get to know your clients, boys, is dropping on stuff. You know who wants to spend money and who doesn't. Like anything, some boys just don't like to spend an awful lot, or sometimes buy them second hand. They haven't had them the whole time, so they wouldn't want to spend more than the money they actually bought the machine on a repair. But if boys have had them a long time, they like to spend the money on it and keep it running. So you sort of need to know who's actually leaving it on. Now, I don't have a name. I don't have a clue. What am I doing? I can't take it out yet anyway. I haven't taken the fan off the bottom. Need that off first before this motor will come out. I'll just put that nut back on. Just so something to tap onto. Doesn't matter if we bend that shaft in the armature, it's destroyed anyway. We already know that. That's how badly destroyed too. It's not even coming out. It's never good when you have to take it out like this. Even the air deflector's coming with it, look. Yeah, I think that might be why she's shorting everything out. Look at that. Totally cooked inside. And so is the armature. That's gone too. So that went. Started sparking, started running slow, started running badly, started cooking, smelling, and it just kept on going and going and going until it cooked all the windings in here too, look. You never see them coming in like this. Wow, that is really fried. So that's totally shorted out, and all the windings are shorting out against this. Shorting out everything so the live and neutral are basically connected. As soon as you plug it on, pull the trigger, she just pops. So that's going to need a field and an armature and whatever else up inside of here. More than likely a full service, but we don't know just yet. I'll go on the computer here first and just get a rough idea of the cost of this thing. It's a HR4001C. Right, we're not off to a good start here now. Rang the customer. You're looking, I'm going to have to take that field out because that's not going back in again. With the armature, the field, brushes, bearings, for that alone you're looking at €250. Roughly. 250 just to get the thing running again. Which ain't too bad a price seeing as you're getting the whole motor. But that's not to say anything up in here is also not gone. Because there could be more damage up in there. Put all that onto it and it mightn't do anything. And this is melted onto the body now. But customer doesn't want to go ahead with it anyway. It's too expensive. Even if the rest of it is fine, he doesn't want to actually go into all that. So this one ain't going to be worth fixing anyway. So we're just going to stick her back together so we can put it back in the box again. But I just have to pull that field out of it to get it back in the box. Just pull that out as well so it'll fit in. So this one, there's too much damage, as you can see. It's not to say that's just happened out of nowhere. That was ran until she cooked. It doesn't even want to actually line up. She's totally out of whack. So more than likely I would say that housing could be a wee bit gone as well. Probably just as well. The amount of work this thing's done and the amount of damage, I would say that would probably end up costing a lot more money anyway. If you have one, I was looking online, like I was saying on the last one about copy spare parts, you can actually buy the whole motor unit on AliExpress. Well, you can get the armature and the field, you can get the separate bits. But there's even a place on eBay selling the whole motor unit for I think it's €140. That's the armature, the field, the housing, the brushes and the brush ring all together. Which ain't bad for 140. But sadly, I don't order in parts for repairs on here from eBay. It's only genuine parts I can fit. We have done one before, an AliExpress one just to test it out. But we won't be doing that very often. And even still, if I got it for €135, you could still fit it all on the top of here. I wouldn't be hammering whatsoever. So it's still not really worth the risk. Is that on that way or the other way? I think it's that way. I'm not going to connect the switch again, just so that he doesn't plug it in again. At least it can't actually run now without that field. Anyway, that's her. Not properly reassembled, but at least partly reassembled. Not much point in throwing that back in the box. He's not going to be able to do much of that. But that one ain't worth fixing. Or he doesn't want that fix, it's just costing too much, which is understandable. But he did say he got a new lead fitted to this a few months ago, which looks to be a good enough quality lead, so you can at least salvage that out of it. But that one ain't going to be worth fixing. It does have another machine out here, so we'll see if we can get onto that one as well, but we don't actually know where it is just yet. Right, clear the bench for the next one. A big Bosch breaker. Better be careful with this thing, I don't want to tear the new lino. This thing's heavy enough at the front to actually rip it. A big Bosch hammer, which is GSH 16. Now, I've done a few of these. Normally, that's a litre of plug or sometimes a set of brushes. Generally, there's not much that goes wrong with these big beasts. Might have spoke too soon. She's running. That means there must be something wrong with it. I'll stick a chisel on and give her a wee test. Well, she's running and she's hammering. Right, this one, I don't know. I have to ring the customer, see why he actually left this on. She's definitely running, and she's hitting. I can't see anything wrong with it, unless there's an intermittent fault. So ring the customer here first and see what he says. See why he actually left it on. Right, we're not so bad with this one. Rang the customer, he says the problem is, there is no problem. There's nothing wrong with it. It's running fine and it's hammering fine. But he says it's just done an awful lot of work and he just wants to get it serviced before it needs to be serviced. So this is just done for a wee preemptive service before anything goes wrong with it. So not so bad. This is actually a nice simple one. So these ones I have worked in before. The service kit isn't too expensive and they are quite easy to fit. So this one should be handy enough. See if I can get the number here first. Now the problem I have is, well, it's good news and bad news. Good news is they're very easy to work on and the service kit isn't expensive. The bad news is they don't come on very often. So I do know from memory I have ordered the service kits for these before, because they're quite simple. Brushes, a rubber damper for up here, and then just two sets of O-rings basically. One for the striker, or two for the striker, and one for the hammer and the piston. They're nice and simple and easy to work on. I know I've done these before. I know I have them in stock. That's the good news. The bad news is I don't get these in very often, and because they don't come in very often, I have no idea where these are. And sometimes I would just order in the bits I need, like the O-rings, because technically you just get away with 2 O-rings in this, depending on what the brushes are like. The O-rings and then 195. I've actually been through all of these here and all the ones over there, and I do not have them O-rings. And the service kits are all up along here in these red boxes, and then all up here, these wee bags hanging up on the wall. But I have none of these here ended in 497. Now, I know I have ordered these. I definitely ordered the O-rings, but they could be used up. But I definitely did order on these service kits as well, because they're not expensive. What, they're only £36. I know I've ordered them, but I have no clue where they are on here. And I don't even know if they're in other boxes down over here or what, or in these red boxes underneath the bench. The pain of getting older. You can remember you got them, but you can't remember where you put them. And this is a fairly obvious bag. Big O-rings and brushes on it. There's nothing really even in it, and there's not much other parts I order for these machines. Now as well, we looked at the big Milwaukee breaker the other week. The big massive chunky one. This is about the same size of machine. And it's worth noting, if you compare the two, the Milwaukee, I can't remember the prices of them, but the piston was very expensive and the switch is very, very expensive. Now this Bosch switch is actually a different one. It's a wee bit bigger with the actual rocker switch. That's only £30. That Milwaukee was like 70, and it used the cheaper Bosch switch. But the piston, I think, was like 100 or 200 euro. This Bosch piston, £40. Not even that. You just need the piston. You know, the piston as a kit doesn't even cost £20 if you happen to burn that out. Even the conrod, that's just the pin for it. Conrod is £20, aluminium conrod. The only thing that normally goes in these is just the needle bearing. And even if that just goes, you can buy the needle bearing on its own for about £3. So if you're looking for a big breaker, these Bosch ones are the one to go for, the Milwaukees. If anything goes wrong with them, you're onto a big bill. But other stuff, obviously, hammer pipes, know you're getting the bigger money, but it's still better than that 300 or 400 euro price tag for the Milwaukee. Anyway, I'm gonna have to find this part. That's the service kit. That's the service wear and tear parts. Maybe I ordered it with the grease because it's a big tube of grease. Bet you that's what I did. Instead of ordering the parts, I ordered it with the grease, the wear and tear parts. Because that there is the big tube of grease, the one I normally use. So I might have just ordered this as a whole kit to get the grease out of it as well. Probably worked at a better price. No. Still none in stock. Right, I've nothing up here. Checked all over here. These are all old boxes too, so a new box fairly stands out with a nice white label, and it's a big box too, because there's a big grease in it. It's not over here. It's not over here along with the grease. I don't believe you. Bet you that's it. It is too. I knew I had one in stock somewhere. And that's the last one too. Well, not lie, I knew I must have had one of these in stock. And I figured it'd be a good way to show what sort of stock is in this here workshop. But that took over half an hour to find. Worst thing about it, it was sitting right above my head and I left the label sticking out so I'd see it easily when I went to look for it. And I still couldn't find it. Right, we know we have it now. So we'll strip her down and get these parts in place. First off, there's only a couple of bolts you need to take off this thing. 4 bolts down here underneath these big springs and 4 bolts off the side. And that'll get you into the whole hammer section. You just need to get the piston, the hammer and the impact bolt up here. Give them a quick wee clean, a wipe down, get new grease in her, and get new O-rings on them and the bump, and that'll get her up and running again. And then we'll also change the brushes as well, because that's in the service pack. They're well easy to work on, but they're a big awkward machine. There's nothing little about them, but at least there's not hundreds of screws to stick out. Sometimes, if they're getting a lot of use, these bolts can sometimes wear out, because they're holding these big springs as a damper. They're not a damper, just a shock absorber. Sometimes they can wear. They start looking bad, you just replace them bolts. You don't have to buy them from Bosch, you can just get the same size from any hardware shop. They're not a special bolt, but you do need a socket head. Don't be just putting on a hex head bolt, because they'll only be 8.8 hardness. The socket heads are about a 12.9, so they're a harder bolt, but you still get them in most hardware shops. So replace them if they look worn. Leave that on for now. Let me get these ones out. The size and the price of these things, Bosch did design them quite well for repairability. They're not hard to get into, but they're all big enough that they don't just rattle themselves apart either. That all up there. I'll slide this out. It's actually looking a wee bit dry. He's sending this in just at the right time now. And there is a shoulder on that O-ring, so it does actually need a bit of a service. The grease is definitely black enough now. It's definitely getting enough work. Everything else in this doesn't really need to come apart unless there's something broken or failed. You can slide all this off if you want, but you can also just leave it on. You might take it off because that grease is quite dried up. We'll wash that and that. Take out the piston. Needle bearing's still okay. You buy that, like I was saying, on its own, and it costs about £3 or £4. Not a heavy piston, but it's big enough to get enough force. Barely ever need to do anything with these things. Never had to replace a piston and I. Clean that down too. side here should be even easier. Oh, it's very dry, look. Oh. Oh, this thing definitely needed a service. Luckily nothing's broken. As you can see, that is well dried up. And it's just dirt and grease mixed together. The tool holder must have come loose, or the bolts must have come loose at one stage on this man. And some of the dirt got on. Luckily it's only down here, because that's not just grease there, that's dust mixed with the grease. But it's only just up here. Alright, give that a whole clean out. And this has just come through here, and these are gone too. Yeah, surprising this thing was hammering right at all actually. Bone dry. Look at that. It's actually glazed or shined over the dirt. It's polished from the steel on steel rubbing. So that can't have been hammering very well. It was hammered for me, but imagine if you're running that for a while. The hammer action was actually just drying up on it. You're getting weaker and weaker. Whenever you lift the machine off with full speed and put it back down again, it'll probably lose some of the hammer. So you switch the machine on, it'll hammer, then you lift the weight off and put it back down. You'll find the hammer go weaker, like half power. The motor will still run the same speed, but you'll just not be getting the same hit. But then if you switch off the machine and let it slow down and switch it back on again, you'll find the hammer come on full force again. And then if you lift it and do the same thing, the hammer goes weak again. That's when you know the grease is all dried up and you need new O-rings like this. But it wasn't doing that here. Look at the wear on that thing. It's not worn out though, this is just an impact bolt. Your piston is what's going up and down. This is what your motor's moving. That's going back and forth, and it'll have an air cushion between. The piston will be here, so as it goes back, it's sort of sucking the hammer back. And when the piston goes forward, the air is being compressed and pushing the hammer forward. So this is just sliding back and forth, not really contacting anything this end. Then this end here, then it's just hitting the impact bolt. The impact bolt then is hitting your chisel. Alright, get the gloves on and get over to the parts washer. Leave all this good clean, not just these parts, but the whole tool holder as well. Just wash the whole thing down, and also the actual motor section up here. I'll clean out all this here stuff as well. And if I can scrape any of that out first. Just to save putting it onto the parts washer. Yeah, there's not much to scrape out. Just throw it on the way it is. Yeah, we'll do the smaller bits first here. Now these will be on the service kit too. It comes with a piston, the hammer O-rings, and this here impact bolt on O-rings. Sanding pad's actually better for us. That's it all cleaned out, including the motor head here. Only thing we need to take out is the brushes. We'll do that at the end. Keep that up there for now. Get into these parts. So this service kit is 16170000702. This is probably the most practical one for somebody doing this at home, because it comes with the actual Bosch grease. This is the Bosch grease I use, the 1615430s015. That's the actual hammer grease, the white stuff. You also get the gear grease as well, the heavier stuff, ends in 001. That's the stuff I always use in the Bosch hammers anyway. So that comes with the actual grease and the parts you need. That's it. The rest is just paper and cardboard. So you can buy them in like this. Must have just worked out better price whenever I ordered with the grease than it was just ordering this on its own. Because I would order a box of this at a time. And 10 tubes of it. And it comes with the breakdown diagram. No, it's not even. Recommended change the O-rings. What the hell do they need that on there for? Recommended to change the O-rings when you've obviously went out and bought the O-rings. So grease, there are the brushes. Keep them for later. And these are the bits we need. So this is the bump I left on the parts washer that goes between this O-ring, this one, and this plastic sleeve. So that's fitting in like so. And then it's all going on top of the actual hammer pipe. So that's the way it will be inside the machine. This boy here, this wee shoulder, actually fits on the hammer pipe perfectly here, look. So that's where that's going. And these two O-rings are for the hammer and the piston, and these here are for the impact bolt. I'm just going to use the same Bosch gear grease to start these with. I always use, so why change a winning formula? They seem a little bit big for that. But obviously they must be right. Just get these initial bits started first. Them all lubed up. Get a good gob of grease squeezed into that needle bearing too, because we're all washed out with kerosene. Make sure there's plenty in there. Right, where do we start? I'm going to start by just brushing a bit of grease on first. I'm going to keep this new one for all the insides, for topping the whole thing up. I'm going to give everything a wee light coat here just. This is the healthy grease, but it's the same stuff as the Bosch. Same consistency as this one. A wee bit in all the important bits. Only doing this because it's easier with the brush. Just put a wee bit on this. Right, we'll rebuild this end first, put this onto this end, and then put the whole thing back into the motor section. So first off, your impact bolt. This will be a tight fit. Just be careful the O-rings aren't pinching, because they are big, they can fold up on one side. That's just the heavy grease I put on there. There we go. Just needed persuading. So you got your two big steel washers. Small one is on here, the chamfer facing down onto the impact bolt, and the flat side facing up. Flat side is for this. And that will be going on next. And then this. I think we'll put them on afterwards, just put this on for now. The other thing was, which way was this on now? Just to keep it the same as in the diagram. Should be facing that way. Right, I was looking to actually change these bolts. Maybe I won't. The size you need if you're looking to change them is 10 by 40s and 10 by 80s. I was going to change them just to make them look a bit fresher, look a bit nicer, but also just to have a better hold, but don't have the right size. Have them in stainless, but not the 12.9 socket heads, so I'll just use Loctite instead. Fresher bolts might have had a better hold, just guarantee they're not going to come slack, but Loctite will have to do. I do have them up there, like I say, they're on stainless steel, not steel, which is not what you want. Stainless and aluminium don't mix, especially for something like this. You want to dismantle again. You've got a bit stainless on here, by the time you got to take it out again, they'll have corroded together and reacted. Stainless and aluminium just react for some reason, so it's not what you want for something you need to get onto again. But a great way of locking something together that you do not want to open again, like on a Paslode gun or something that has an aluminium body. If the bolts wear out, it becomes slack before you actually drill them out. Sometimes if they're still tight enough, you can put on a stainless bolt and they'll actually self tighten up. They'll actually react and actually lock in permanently. Handy that way when you do not want to open it again. But this thing you're going to want to service, so don't be using stainless. Now, that's that end. Your steel washer and your pump is still down on here. So after that then, leave that. Pull this section over. You can also take off this top cover. Well, I actually do that. Suppose I could, no I mightn't have to. This top cover comes off and there's a plastic plate underneath for accessing the grease inside, but you mightn't have to do that. So we have it all open this side anyway. Drop on your piston. Try to do it this way first. Piston in. Oh, grab that wrong. Have your O-ring towards your piston side. Some extra grease in reserve here. So that is going on this way. Actually, we'll drop it on that way there, so it's not getting caught in them open holes, rings down here. crack this open. Get some in there. And I'll just get it on here. This will take a whole tube. And it will get worked around the machine then. Dump her all in. Because she's a big machine and there's a big void to fill. Put this on, make sure nothing leaks out. Spring, your plastic or your metal sleeve on the end of the tool holder, covered in grease now, and then this here boy here, this plastic sleeve, the metal ring inside, and then just goes over the top. That'll be sitting on like this. Put that all on. Now, the brush holder on your right hand side and the cap up this side for filling it up. The plastic cap where you can access on the right hand side as well. Have something like this. Your lever for your tool holder should be facing you. That's the way it should be left. Drop all that onto here. Try to have it so this here boy is sitting straight in line with the body, because that'll be sliding into the housing up in here. And just give it a wee twist. And that should all drop on together. Can also put them on separately, as in put that sleeve, the plastic sleeving up this side before assembling it. I just find it handier doing it this way. Again, plenty of Loctite. And just a big cumbersome machine. Exactly what you want when you're using it. Just awkward when you're rebuilding it. That's it, rebuilt, serviced. Now we just need to get the brushes on it. Luckily the brush is the easy bit. hardly even need to be changed, but when you set there in the service kit, you may as well put them on. It leads just right in the way. What is going on there? Looks like somebody's been chewing on that. They're fairly fresh. He's paid for them, so may as well put them on. Now I must remember to get a new service kit ordered for this. So don't use them often, but you do use them once in a while. You better be sitting looking at it and looking for it. Mind you, I did go looking for it for long enough. So I have to do something like that. That fade connector is completely destroyed, completely eaten up. Look. See if we can get that off without shortening that wire too much. Wee file sander, belt sander, because I'm wild handy for jobs like this. There we go. Still have all the length. Now, that's better. That should last a lot longer. Much tighter. That one's not good either, but at least it's not as bad as the last one. Now if you have the same trouble with these as you do the 11E, where the brush isn't making full contact, there's a bit of dirt on the actual brush holder. This is the same brass brush holder as the GSH 11E. That happens, we have more hassle. Same thing, you have to take out the wee screw inside of here and pull out the brush holder and clean it. But this one looks okay. Somebody's just done a bodge job on fitting that. Just tighten it up a wee bit. It's not actually gone, it's just a bit slack looking. That's better. Get some of this stuff away. Now that should be this Bosch one, up and hammering properly again. Shouldn't be losing the hammer now. She should keep running for years to come. Just give her another wee test. That's her. That's how you service a big Bosch GSH 16 Kango hammer or breaker. Well, GSH 16 on the breakdown diagram, it's actually a GSH 16 stroke 28. The same machine. She goes weak in you and she's no longer hammering or going soft. All you need to do is get yourself a full service kit. Has everything you need on it. A couple of O-rings, but most importantly the grease. 1617 000 702. That's all you need. The rest is just a bit of washing out, a bit of cleaning. You can even do it with a clean towels or something. Just get rid of all the old grease and a couple of Allen keys there to actually dismantle it. Maybe a screwdriver just for the brush holders. Fairly easy to do. Anybody can easily do this thing at home, or at least in the shed. I don't think your wife would be too impressed if you threw this thing up in the kitchen sink. Anyway, that's her, up and running and ready to go. Now, this one's clearly seen a bit of work. Chisel's all the way worn down to the nub. Right, we've got a Makita hammer. This is the HM1100C 1100C hammer. This is an oldie. Here's this one. 2006 maybe. Oh, doesn't sound healthy anyway. I was going to say the fan's gone. The fan is definitely gone, but that's not the only problem here. There's a big unhealthy blue flash from her as well. So let's say this could have a burnt out armature too. What's going on here, la? Let's say the bearing is gone. That's before. Let's say that housing's melted. See, the bearing's gone, melted onto the housing, and someone has actually drilled the housing to knock out the old bearing. If that's the case, then the housing's probably worn out. Yeah, see that armature's gone. It's all burnt down this one side. Pull it out here and see. Yeah, they're coming out a wee bit too easily. I think somebody knows rightly this is already gone. Just pull out the whole box, make it easier. Right. housing isn't as bad as I thought. It's not good like, but it's not completely melted. But that armature's gone, that's cooked. That's gone, and the fan's gone. And the hammer's just rolling around inside. So it'll probably need a service too. That's not coming off either. That's stuck. Right, price this first. Needs an armature before anything else. Probably. Well, the fan's actually been rubbing on the field. So that could be gone too. I'd have to change that field as well. Might run for now, but that could eventually just short out and short the field. And if that were to go, this would be a lot cheaper than the armature. The field goes and shorts out. It could take out the armature as well, causing it to overheat and burn up again. So we'd need to replace the two. Right, I'm not even ringing the customer on this. I'm already up at €300 to put a motor, the armature, the field, a bit of grease and brushes into this thing. It's getting way too expensive. I have the armature in stock too, but too risky doing this. That kind of money, anything else goes wrong, it's going to be just silly money. We're putting a service into this too. Could easily get into another 60 or 70 euro, depending what parts you put on, obviously. This thing's taking too much abuse. Besides, the housing down here could also be gone. That bearing mightn't be the best fit. You would put in the new motor into a bad housing, and that'll be even more money again. So just got to stop before you waste any more time, because you could easily go down a money pit with this here thing, especially in the condition that it's in. We're a good machine, but one that's badly worn and beat up might not be worth fixing. I'm not even putting the brushes back into this thing, but there's no point. It's totally cooked. We're not after the best of starts with the hammers today. Normally you get a lot more repairs than this. Today there's a lot of ones not worth fixing. At least it clears the shelves quickly. So that's another one for the scrapyard. Another Bosch, same as the last one, the GBH 5/40 DCE. Hopefully this one is in a better state. This one's actually younger, 2022. We've got power, but no motor. Maybe a set of brushes, but there's no red light on, unless somebody's already pulled them out. Pulled out anyway, but they're nearly gone, if not completely. Yeah. Right, quick wee clean first. Just stuck another 10 sets of these in order as well because I'm fairly low on these brushes. A set you don't want to run out of. You can be down to 1 or 2 sets. Only takes a couple of days to get them in. But a lot of times somebody will just walk into the shop and order 5 or 10 sets. You sort of need to have them in stock all the time. The type of set of brushes, if you order 10 or 20 sets of them, they never go to waste. They'll always get used because we're in quite a few of these Bosch hammers. There's even a few other brands of tools that'll actually fit as well. Maybe not with the wee ground lead. The other brush, you can cut them leads off. But for this one here now, they always come in handy somewhere. Now to see what the rest of her is like. Is she sparking? Or is she hammering? Well, she's not sparking anyway. Definitely hammering. She does sound a wee bit geary up here though. Just have a quick peek. Not servicing it. I just want to see what the gears are like and see what the grease is like. Just in case it needs topped up. Actually not too bad. Top it up a little bit. I'm just doing the normal thing. Putting in a bit of Bosch or healthy oil. Just to keep things moving. No, that's that. Just get them down so we don't lose any oil. And that'll do her. At least that one can actually be fixed. The other one's completely destroyed, worn through. Hopefully the oil get onto this one will stop the gears wearing too much. But I do know these Bosch ones are more prone to them gears wearing. But at least the set of brushes will keep it running. If it wasn't hammering, I would also do a whole service on it. But it's not worth doing a service unless it actually needs one. So that's her. Nice quick and easy fix with a set of brushes. Now, next up was an old one. An old one that when you see nowadays, boys just cringe. An old Ryobi tool. Instead of the yellow one, those are the old blue Ryobi tools. These were industrial tools, unlike the DIY stuff you get today. These things lasted for decades. This could be easily like 20 or 30 years old. Well, 20 years old anyway. Now there's no parts available for these anymore. They're completely obsolete now. All the blue stuff's gone, and the yellow stuff here in Ireland at least, can't get any parts for them either because Ryobi just sell too much big quantities to the big box stores, the big massive hardware shops. So all the smaller ones that was doing a range of Ryobi stuff now don't stock it anymore because they can't compete with the big ones. And if they can't sell the stuff, there's no really reason to sell spare parts. The big shops don't sell parts anyway. So now in Ireland anyway, you don't get any parts for Ryobi, especially these old blue ones. These ones are obsolete now. The only thing I'm getting for these now is whatever I have left in the boxes over here. If there's a something in there that can be used for this, we can fix it. But outside of that, there's nothing. It says this one's running, but it's just not hammering. Don't even know if I have a hammer for this. I'll just use a torque screwdriver here to see. Right. No hammer. Take a peek in the gearbox first to see what's going on. He's got enough grease in it anyway. What is going on here? As it always do when it doesn't hammer, they just keep adding more and more grease. Works when it's dry, when there's no grease in it, but there's already grease in the gearbox and you keep adding more, you're not doing anything. It'll actually stop hammering if you over grease it. I just wipe it on this. Old rag anyway, it's for the bin. This is just our black molly grease. It's not, let's say this old grease is just burnt out. This is just molly grease that was been put on. So most boys have easy access to. Black molybdenum disulfide grease. The black stuff is just a very slippery mineral basically. Helps keep things lubricated. It's not the best for hammers. It's not a good enough consistency and it's not good for the O-rings. Grand for like a pin and bushings, but not so good for this. That's just absolutely covered on it. Don't know if I'm going to clean this out or not. Right. The crank's still there and it still has a con rod and it's all connected. It's doing the right things, it's just not making any impact. If it's just O-rings, it might be obsolete. But I might be able to get something else that'll fit. And that's tight anyway. I'll actually open that first because if I can't get that off, I'll not get it off with this removed. Oh, glad I didn't use that by hand. That would have stung. People wonder if these wee hot Allen keys are any good. They definitely are. These things can take some abuse. That's a bit tighter. Oh, that's very tight. Lovely. That there is the actual hammer width in this thing. The size of the hammer, the machine, it's got a big hammer width because it's mainly just all motor. I think this is the problem here. She's running, but she's not hitting. The impact bolt is jammed inside the hammer pipe. The question is, can I get that out? Not even sure which way that comes out now. There we go. Must be that way. So that taking some beating, not from me, from sheer work. Look at that. Now, what shape was that originally? That's the question. So I think there's a wee end that actually stuck up out of that. That's meant to have a tail. Yeah, that would have been sitting down here, look. Yeah, that's the rest of it there. That's snapped off, look. Snapped and broke and just kept on being used. It just wore down and jammed itself in to the tool holder. Right, if we have one of these, we can fix it. If not, there's nothing we can do. Right, no parts in the boxes of the old new Ryobi parts. No scrap machines out there. But there's one last ditch attempt. That's again a snap. See if I've any of the strikers in here. I've impact bolts. This is just a box of all sorts. Pistons, con rods, hammers, and impact bolts of all different brands. They all kind of just get thrown on here and they're left out in the container. Sometimes you can get lucky. Tank in here, look. Pretty unique one. It's hollow up the middle. And it doesn't look like we have one. It looks like this ain't going to be fixed. Nah, just gonna have to call it quits on this one. Been looking for long enough, and there's just nothing here. Yeah, that way. It's hardly even worth putting this thing back together again, but we'll roughly just have it sitting together. Wrong way around. But really, it's just not going to be worth going to any sort of hassle for this thing. It's already a brave age that it is. There's only one part to fail, but still. You have to remember whatever you put onto it now, that's all there is. So if it breaks another thing later, it still can't be fixed, and you're definitely not going to get them parts. Call it quits while you're ahead. Go on leaving stuff out of this, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's just to leave it in one piece. Right, tidy up this bench, get rid of this and go on to the next one. And the next one is another Ryobi. This one is a different model. I wouldn't say it's any younger, but at least we can see what it is. It's a CH485. It looks like, yeah, year 2004. 21 years old, this one. The other one must have been older again. This one's, they're a wee bit back to front here. The last one had a big massive motor and a wee small hammer section. This one has a wee small motor and a big massive hammer section. So this is a bigger hammer, but the motors wouldn't be as good. The last one would have been far better because they had a small hammer section with a big motor. Wouldn't be as strong, but they barely ever burnt out. These ones could burn out a little bit more easy. Nothing. That switch doesn't feel right, mind you. Again, no parts. But hopefully I have the memory, good enough memory to remember what I seen on the spare parts while looking for the last one. And I don't remember seeing any switches, but there is a few switches hanging up on the wall over there. It might, if there is one, that might be hanging over there, or it could have one of these here scrapped off. Or it mightn't even be a switch. It is a switch. And these are an old switch. You think Ryobi, you think DIY, everything's just cheap and plastic. As you can see from these things, these were an old machine and they were built a lot different. Is this screwed on? No, it's just tight. Right, I'm going on another wild goose chase. See if we can find one of these. Put that there. It's the quality of the switch used to be in the old Ryobi machines. Proper heavy duty switch. Nothing DIY about these things. Look at the amount of wear just on here. The plastic body is actually worn onto the trigger of the switch. That's done some amount of work. We could also try to repair it if we can't get a new one. We'll try to find a new one first. We'll try the scrap drawer first. It's a fairly obvious switch. It's not hard to spot. There's a big metal plate in the back of it. And there's more down here. And there are more cordless machines. some old NiCad batteries and a few old Ryobi controllers. Wonder if that works. That's an old switch for Bosch mixing drill, core drill. They are extremely expensive. They're about €150 a piece. Wonder if they still work. Nothing in there. There's Panasonic Ryobi. I think they were out there. Yeah, they are. What about this box? It's a Makita part. Doesn't belong in here. No joy. Check the scrap pile. That's the right one, but too late. Switch is already missing. It's a bit dark in here. Oh. Looking good. We might get away with that. There's nothing wrong with second-hand parts when you've no other option. Can't get these anymore anyway. What's this or nothing? That is as long as it works. Doesn't look bad anyway for lying out in a little wet container. Look at that. Nice one. I would say sometimes it does pay you to hold on to old parts, but it doesn't really. By the time that's lying out there, it's not paying you at all to hold on to it. But it does get someone out of a hole the odd time. Doesn't exactly make us much money holding on to old stock like that. It just means sometimes it can help you out. Holding on to that stuff is more for when you have something like this in for repair and you've already done the work to it. Imagine you had some of the parts left over to service this, change the O-ring and the bearings, and you went and done all the work, put on the O-rings and new grease and got it all washed and cleaned and done. You go to run it and you realise the switch is gone and the switch is obsolete and you can't get it anymore. That sort of them old machines come in very handy. You can get you out of a big hole sometimes. It's just got an old yellow lead on this as well. We're not changing that. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't need to replace it. Wouldn't be worth changing it anyway. Quick and cheap fix to get it up and running. So all we need to focus on. Just a snug fit. These things just go to show brands change. one stage they're an industrial machine, professional grade, and then a few years later they can just turn on the DIY machines. And you can see that happening with two brands in particular now. Hopefully that's this one up and running again now. Let's see what she does now. That's her. That's at least one of the Ryobis fixed. The other one is just a waste of time. This one just needed a quick second-hand part. Now, I'm not getting any parts for these anymore unless you get second-hand ones on eBay. They're a great machine, but all the parts are just completely obsolete now. So that will keep this man running for a few more years anyway. Now, last up for today, we have an older Hitachi hammer. Now this one could also be quite interesting because this looks very similar to the Metabo hammer we've had on several times before, but the ring problem up on here nearly looks identical to it. But this is the older Hitachi hammer before Hitachi became Hikoki, and I actually have the newer Hikoki hammer at the house, a brand new one for a teardown video or for a collaboration with Hikoki, which is very similar again. So it'll be interesting to see, are these all the same hammers? And I would imagine they are, because these are actually a wee bit different from normal hammers, because these are the ones with the brushless motors. So it's a corded machine, 110 volt, but it has a brushless motor inside. Whenever these first came out, I wasn't too sure about it. Brushless motor and a corded machine. If you need more power, you can just put on a bigger motor. But everybody's come back to me and said, no, the brushless motor is great because it keeps the weight down. So they're making them very, very popular. And this is the older Hitachi since before they actually became Hikoki. What year is she? 2016, so it's nearly 10 years old. And it's still running. So these are actually proving themselves now. These motors are actually very good. But it'll be interesting to see, is this the same machine? Is it still got the same fault? Has this problem just never really been addressed? Because this boy says this one is running and she's hammering, but she's just free rotating at the front. That's all I've been told. That, and there's a bit of an oil leak up here, so we'll have to strip this down, see where the oil leak is. But I would say this is going to be the same problem, where she's just spinning. They sound like a good motor in these as well. They're not too loud. Well, till they start hammering, obviously. Still plenty of compression on that, you know. I wouldn't test the actual chisel. Yeah, there's your problem there, look. That's what happens. See, in that mode, this can just spin. That's where it's meant to go. This is the boring hammer as well, not just the hammer only. So rotary mode is fine, it's just chisel only. When you put it up to here and chisel only, that should lock the chisel in position. So if you want it sitting flat, or if you want the point sitting in line with the machine, you can switch it over here, rotate it to where you want, and then lock it in, and it should stay there. But this one just continues to spin. So we've seen this problem in the Metabos. It's just a plastic ring up in here that needs to be replaced, and it's not exactly well designed. It's not been engaged properly, so it's not getting enough travel. So we put on O-rings to pack it out, and the last time we put on a steel ring just to increase the travel. Steel one seems to be doing a wee bit better. The O-ring seems to be slipping. The wee yoke actually gets over the top of the O-ring, so it doesn't do as good a job. So we'll strip this down and see if it's the same problem, and see if we can fix it, because I'm not even sure if I have one left in stock. But if it is the same machine, it'll be handy, because Hitachi or Hikoki are a lot handier to get parts from. They come in a lot quicker, and sometimes they're a better price as well. Well, Metabo and Hikoki, it's either or. Sometimes one could be better price than the other one. You can sort of go between. But Metabo take a little bit longer to get, for two reasons. The supplier takes longer to get them, and I take longer to order them because you just don't order as many Metabo parts. So I don't know if that's an oil leak or just him putting chisel grease into this. Could be either or, but he says it's leaking grease, so we'll take it that it's leaking. Where's that ring? It's going to need a good clean down anyway. Now you can see a wee bit of difference on this straight away. They have changed this design in some way, or else changed it to keep it a little bit different for Hitachi and Metabo. This top cover is different on the Metabo. These bolt off and this whole plastic cover slides off with it. This seems to be a separate plate. Yeah, different plate, same design, same lever and side, same with forks. And she definitely needs a wee bit of grease. Definitely needs a clean because I'm getting covered here. See that and the Metabo as a part of this here. You just have them together. This one just has the cover on and the plate holding it down. But it's the same machine, same counterweights, same sort of body, same motor, same mechanism. So this is an older Hitachi machine when it first came out. And then Hitachi became Hikoki. So I'd say the Hikoki one that I have at the house, yet the tear down will be the same as this here. But interesting to see what the new one is like compared to this old Hitachi that's nearly 10 years old. We'll do that another night. Something going there, look. Don't know what that was off. But interesting to compare the two new ones and see on this one what the way it has started out and what they've changed since. Maybe they've just changed the Metabo for this year. But this would have been the original Hitachi, and then it probably became the Hikoki one whenever they became Hikoki. Whenever they bought it Metabo, then they probably just rebranded the Hikoki one for Metabo to sell onto the same sort of market. But the Metabo one is very popular. There's more people buying them, and they're very good because they've been used for chasing. Yeah, that's probably what that's off there, though. Yeah, it's not a hole. Chasing, like I said before, it's a fairly hard job on wild sword machines. But that ain't come back on there because the wee pin's gone. It's only a wee counterweight anyway, it's not a massive deal. We're not going to change the whole aluminium head just for this. Right, keep stripping. And just get into the whole thing. I'm not going to go into the gear section, I don't think. I don't need to, I'll not bother. Just try to stick to the hammer section because that's where the problem is. We fixed this before in the Metabo. We've seen it before, we fixed the same problem. Question is it the exact same part? I've never been into the motor in one of these either, or even the gearbox actually, I don't think. So it'll be interesting on the one at home, the collaboration one, to actually get into the whole thing and see what the entire machine is like. So it's all looking very familiar here. Yeah, same problem. This one's actually even worse. Same plastic piece, but this one's actually snapped too, look. But it's worn all the way through. So this Hitachi one was actually better designed because it looks to be engaging fully with this lever inside. Wonder what's changed with this and the new Metabo one. Move that O-ring before it comes off. The Metabo one just starts to wear here and one side will go, but this is worn through completely, unless this man's just been running on regardless until it just totally failed. Keyways are still good, the tool holder's good. I'm actually not sure if that seal's gone or not. It looks quite good. There's not much grease in it. We just have to see if we have one of them or not. That's the boy engaging in that plastic ring. And your piston then. Let's see if I can get that to shift. No. There's actually... No, I don't want to take that gear out actually. There we go. It's not looking too bad either. I was going to say there's a bevel gear in here for driving the rotary mode, but that's behind the actual drive gear, so that doesn't come out. Not without stripping the whole thing down more, not without taking out the gearbox and pulling off the clutch. Then you can take that out. On the hammer only, the one without the rotary mode, it still has everything the same in here, and it still has this ring gear, but there's just no teeth on it. So there's no clutch coming up through, and this gear here with the big coarse teeth on it, that is in there, but there's just no teeth. It's just a blank part, and it's just to center some of this stuff inside. Funnily enough, I have seen the Metabo one with just hammer only without the gears. I've seen that ring break, or not the ring break, but the actual bush holding the ring snap inside, which is part of the gearbox housing, which is a bit odd that it would break without the rotation. So it must be the impacts moving it that caused it to break, but that was out of a hire shop and it's got a lot of use. But that's what actually scrapped the machine off, was that wee bush for the ring up in here snapping, just breaking in half, and it just wasn't worth replacing the whole gear housing up in here. He actually had a scrap on there as well he could have used, but he didn't even want to put the money in to the labour cost of just getting it running, because it was a hire company, it was cheaper for them just to buy a new one straight from Metabo again. This one can be fixed. We'll have to see if we have this ring, but now we just have to clean the whole thing down. Now, that's all washed down, all cleaned up and easier to handle. So now that everything's clean, let's do a comparison. Because I already have a Metabo, and in the middle of doing a video on. I'm waiting on parts for this. And it's also all cleaned down. So let's do a wee comparison here. I think it's safe to say these are the same machine. Just a few subtle differences on it. Metabo has the button here, but this is the hammer only. It doesn't have rotary mode. So that's just so you can put it onto hammer only and lock it on. Different controls here. No adjustment on the speed actually. So this one's a little bit simpler. But body, very similar. This metal casing a little bit different. She's got lines going up here, this just has lines going across. So I'd say it's been modified over the years, or modified for Metabo. Base is a little bit different, but you can still see the general gist of it. Wee small changes on it, nothing major. The actual main components are all the same. So the actual metal gear housings up here, they're all identical. I would say the cranks in these are the same too, which would be handy because I've ordered a crank and a few bits for this one, which have to come from Metabo. But Metabo can take a lot longer to get parts from, so I might actually order these parts now again. Second time from Hitachi as well, because these actually come a little quicker. So that's the same. Different sleeve up on here. That's the same. This is the main thing. I think this might be where the problem is as well. This is the Metabo one. See, this is just a cover that goes on, and the top of this bolts down and holds down the cover. This one, the cover or the selector just sits down, and it's the cover that goes over the top and bolts down on top. It looks basically the same. They are actually the same shape. I would say you could easily interchange them. You actually could. If you changed the Hitachi one over to this, you would just have to replace this as well, and you could probably swap the two of them over. But everything else in this is the exact same tool holder, same hammer pipe, and same box of steel rings and washers. All that's identical. But I'm guessing this is where the problem lies. See this ring and the distance from the center to this? I bet you that's where they messed up. The two selectors here, the two rings and pins. This one is a little bit bigger than this one. So maybe this one just has more of a rotation. More travel, you know. So between forward and back. This is just bigger sleeve. I don't know if this is right or not. So this one spins the whole way around because it has rotary mode. But this one only turns 3/4. It doesn't go the whole way around, so this is less travel, but it doesn't need to go down here. But if I mark that, see where I've marked it there, look. Mark the amount of travel on this, on the top and the bottom position of that pin, I get these two marks. And if I forget about this one and do the same thing here, I get these two marks. if I measure that maximum travel now, that gives me roughly 9.2 mil. Now I test this one. I get 10.3. So this one actually has an extra mil of travel for this here plate. So that's sitting on there. So I can go back and forth an extra mil. So it gives an extra mil travel onto this. So it engages it a little bit more. So that's what this is doing better than the Metabo, because the Metabo won't have to pack it out an extra mil. But also what I've just seen is this is worn more than I give it credit for. This is, and the newer one, this is the Metabo, and this is the old Hitachi or Hitachi. See here, look. This is wearing. So maybe this has been used more as a boring hammer, plus this boy's not doing wall chasing. The Metabo fella is doing wall chasing, so that's doing a lot more work. But you can see that is also worn, and so is the pendula. So there's another reason why it's wearing through these faster. The amount of work this boy's doing, the vibrations is actually wearing through these parts that little bit quicker. So that's another, what did that be, 2 or 3 mil? That actually would be, but at least, well, 1 or 2 mil anyway. So that and the actual rotary travel is what's given the Metabo worse results. Metabo would swap this part, this here part, out for this one on the Hitachi or Hitachi. These would actually be a better machine. The Hitachi one or the Hitachi one, nothing wrong with it. So if you're looking for one of these machines, definitely go for the Hitachi or the Hitachi. They're both brilliant. It's just if you're doing chisel and you find the chisel starting to slip on it, the Hitachi one doesn't have much of a problem. We'll have to order this as well from Metabo to change these two parts. You need to change that pin and this here as well. That'll help the Metabo one a little bit better. Right, anyway, that's enough comparing. Time to get on with it. Now, to prove a point, I'm actually going to reuse the used old ring out of the Metabo. One of the Metabos are repaired to fix this Hitachi one. So this is worn in a Metabo and slipping, and I'm going to put the worn one into the Hitachi, because if you compare them, there's the amount of wear on the Metabo compared to the Hitachi, or the Hitachi one now as it is. So this amount of wear here caused the Metabo one to start slipping. That is the amount of wear on the Hitachi before it started to slip. Quite a difference. So a few extra mil of travel makes all the difference in these machines. I wonder if there's a bit of friendly rivalry between Metabo and Hitachi whenever they took over. Maybe this is just a flagship machine for Hitachi and they didn't want Metabo having as good a machine, so they changed it or tweaked it just enough. Took down the tolerance maybe 1 or 1.5 mil, so this just doesn't lock in as perfectly. Or maybe the new one is just a wee bit different, they didn't realise this, and this other ones are just worn a little bit more. I'll have to order them parts in anyway and replace them for the Metabo. But that is the difference. Old Hitachi locks in properly and wears all the way through until it's gone. Get nearly 10 years of work at it. Newer Metabo, if you're using it constantly, starts slipping a lot easier. So that is what I'm going to put onto this. That and some O-rings. Because we have her stripped, I may as well change the O-rings on it. So that's the O-ring impact bolt. These are also the Metabo O-rings. And they're the ones for the hammer and the piston. So these are the same machines, Metabo or Hitachi O-rings, you can use either. Don't know which is a better price, mind you, but I have the Metabos, so that's what I'm going to put on. Get rid of all the old ones. Get some new ones fitted. These are the main things. This is going to stop the rotation, but this is going to keep it running like a new machine again, without putting a whole new service kit on. So these here O-rings, what gives the compression and gives you your hammer. That and new grease will get this running like new. I'm going to use the heavier grease in these here first. I'll use the lighter Bosch stuff to finish it off. This just gives everything a good coating to begin with. Really get it squeezed onto that needle bearing. I'll change this one simply because this came out so easily. Probably really doesn't need to be changed, but it's not expensive. I'll change it now while we're at it. Paint a bit of grease on here first, just to keep her lubed up. Just a touch. Put a bit of heavier grease just on them gears. Now that's worn as well, but it's not worn the whole way through. See, it's just worn at the tip here. That was shiny the whole way across. I made to replace that. Do have these on stock as well, because I ordered them for the Metabo one. So that slides in there. This will then be sliding onto there. We'll put it on along with the whole tool holder. Right, this bit can be kind of complicated, so we'll just simplify it here. There's just an awful lot of parts, a lot of rings, O-rings and washers in this. So we'll just separate out what's part of the tool holder and part of the hammer, just to make it a bit simpler. I think they're all the hammer section there. And then one of these is the tool holder and one is the hammer. They are both basically the same. But the heavy one, I think it's the hammer. Now I'm going to go with the tool holder. Takes the heavy one because that's got more wear on it. I'll go with that. Include that and them two. Right, go with what we know first. Bolt sitting down on here. You've got your chamfered steel ring, your bump, then a steel washer with a flat side facing the bump. That's down in there anyway. As we get the piston on here. which way is that again now? That's for back here, so this will be getting to the tool holder side. In other words, it's that, and your second spring over the top of it. Then your plastic gear facing back, because this will be getting back into the hammer pipe that way. And then that over the top of it. So this should be locking on here, like so. All that. All that and a bit of grease with the actual hammer can go onto here. Aren't I right? Yeah. Your O-ring faces back towards the piston. I just want to line this up with the piston, slide it on. And plastic gear is locking onto the housing up in here, so it's fixed. And it's this here lever is pushing the metal gear forward to lock against that plastic one. So without enough travel, it doesn't get up and lock in the teeth enough to fully lock it. That's it for now. I'm going to focus on the tool holder, which is basically done. I just need these on. They'll just slide on there. Spot of grease. Now I'm going to take a chance on this. There's a bit of grease up the head, and your man said it was leaking a bit of grease. One, I can't see anything wrong with this oil seal, so I'm not sure if it's definitely gone. Two, I don't have one of these oil seals in stock. And three, you can't buy it separately from either Metabo or Hitachi. You have to buy the whole aluminium housing, which costs around 40 or 50 euro. So expensive part to replace. You definitely want to make sure it is actually gone. So this goes, you have to replace the whole housing here. Not wild expensive, but a bit more expensive than just an oil seal. Makita one, some of the Makita hammers are actually the same. I think the 3540 is the same thing. They don't sell the oil seal, you have to order the aluminium housing. Normally you can just clean up the oil seal and actually get the numbers and just order it from a supplier. But this one, there's nothing on it. So I'm not taking the chance of just ordering random ones on to see if they fit. I will just replace this if I need to, but that's if I need to. So what I'm going to do is just fit it back in, and hopefully it doesn't have a bad oil leak. But if it does, it's not hard to actually change on its own. All you're doing is pulling off this cover, taking apart the chuck, and taking out these bolts, and you just pull this away from the tool holder, leaving everything else still installed, and just replace this part on its own. So it is gone, it'll not be hard to change later. But for now, I'm going to go with the original. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with it. Anything else needs to go into this? I don't think so. We'll just get them in for now and then snug them up later. Looks okay to me. Right, before I put that grease in, I'll just get the rest of her put together. Actually, before I do that, make sure these are tight. So that wee meal drill just wouldn't have the highest of power. He says when they're already tight. Well, that one wasn't tight enough. Now we should be good to put the grease in. So that is sitting in there. It's just awkward to get this change lever on and get it hooked onto that. And I'm going to put on about 50 ml of grease. Hopefully it definitely doesn't leak now. There'll be a lot of grease to come out. A wee bit of extra in there, just the heavier stuff, just to top it up, and that'll do. So that's on the wat. That's some chisel lock. That should be right, shouldn't it? Should be, but it can't be. This is on rotation mode. If it doesn't, just change your lever. So that's locked in. Now that's free rotating, and that locks in again. Right, that should be it. And lock tight again. Neutral, so you can easily turn. Put out the hammer, it locks into position, so the chisel doesn't turn. That's what we want. And if we go around here, she should lock into rotation mode for boring. Right, she's looking good. Now we just need to do the tool holder. Grease in here first. A big flat washer, cup washer, then your spring, your retaining plate, your pins or stops. They slide into the plate. And your big steel ring, that's what actually locks in your pins. Wee rubber, washer, and your C-clip. Washer is sighted, not like the Bosch. Chamfers on one side. Bosch Makita ones have it on both sides, doesn't matter which way you put it on. It matters in this. Not that it's a big deal. And your sleeve, and then your cap. That's it. These caps are also extremely hard to get on. Had to put that on the floor and actually lean on it. Get that there cap on. They are tight. That's her. One Hitachi boring hammer. Is that not gone? I am not taking that cap off again. It's a tight fit. I just had to strip, clean and rebuild the Hitachi DH40MEY Rotary boring hammer. That should be the chisel lock fixed up. She shouldn't be rotating anymore. Hopefully that'll sort out the oil leak and she should be hammering like a new machine again. Sounds good, looks good. Does she lock? That's the main thing. Yeah, she does. Give her a quick test, make sure she hammers. Nice one. That's her. That'll keep this man happy and working away for years more to come. That's her, folks. That is how you strip and fix the Hitachi brushless hammer. The DH40MEY. Whether it is the Hitachi, the Hikoki or the Metabo, they're all the same machine. The parts are all interchangeable, apart from just a few covers and sleeves and that there. Just the aesthetics has changed basically, and the change lever up here. But all the internals are the exact same parts. Same machines, they're all owned by the same company now. If you're looking for a good hammer, you're not going to get the Hitachi one. The Hitachi is now Hikoki. But honestly, if you're looking for a good hammer for heavy work that's reliable, powerful, good size, good weight, dependable, repairable, definitely be looking at the Hikoki or the Metabo hammers. Boys using them for wall chiseling, as you can see, they're doing the work they're meant to be doing and they're kept going and they can be repaired and they're not constantly wearing out and that. These things are actually quite good. You're not getting a Hitachi one anymore, but definitely look at the Hikoki and the Metabos. They are fantastic machines. The only problem with them is that plastic gear. It eventually wears and starts to slip. But if that is the biggest complaint you have in a hammer, that the chisel is just moving around, you're laughing. It's not the biggest complaint to have. It's quite a minor thing in the grand scheme of things. Even the Bosch ones that I do like, and they're a good size, the gears and the armature wear it completely and scrap the machine off. These here ones, €5 or €10 buys you the part if you want to fit it yourself. 30 or 40 euro a repair shop's going to charge you for just changing that wee part, if that's all it needs. Well worth doing, and definitely a hammer to be looking at. The Hikokis and the Metabos. Anyway folks, that's it. That's all we have time for today in this here hammer repairathon video. As always, if you're liking the videos, make sure to hit that like button down below. If you want to help out the channel, hit that share, hit that subscribe button if you're not a member already, or you hit that hype button too. But till next time folks, I'll chat to you later. Cheers.